Hey guys, this is Adrian in from Modio, and today we are going to learn how to make confetti fall in After Effects. We actually are using a third-party plugin called Trapcode Particular, and it can be expensive, so there's a link down below. It's often on sale for the winter, so I would look into buying it around then. So here's how I have this composition set up. We have Particular on its own layer, which is creating the falling confetti, and we have a pre-comp of all this confetti on individual layers in a small box here, and you can see they're all offset and they're sequenced to fill this entire composition. So if you have something that you want to create falling and there's several different variations of them, you're going to need to set up your composition like this, and it can be used for a variety of things. It doesn't have to be confetti, obviously. If you have a variety of objects that you want to make falling with Particular, you would just need to set it up in a composition like this. So I'll go ahead and show you how to build this basic composition. So this is the original graphic that we were given from our graphic designer, which just has a variety of confetti on one page. And luckily for us, it was already separated into layers, but you might not be so lucky. So you might just have one single layer with a bunch of different confetti elements on there. And what you would need to do is just duplicate it several times. And then what you would want to do is, mask out the correct confetti layer, and then create several layers like that and manually mask it out so that you're creating your own layers. So what needs to happen is we need to have all of these confetti elements in the middle, and we also need to have it in a composition that's no bigger than 200 by 200. That's generally the maximum size you want to use in Particular because of the way that it generates the use of the particles. The ideal use case is 100 by 100, but you can go as high as 200 by 200 and you won't see too much issue. So I'm going to actually edit this composition to be 200 by 200. And you're going to see, obviously, it's cropping out the rest of our confetti. So the goal is to go through and find the confetti layers and move it to the middle. And this is going to be the most tedious part, setting up your composition here, but once this is done, you're going to have a lot less, it's going to be a lot easier to animate these particles, because otherwise you'd be having to animate them manually, which would be a lot more work. Okay, so I've skipped ahead and I have all my confetti layers in the middle in this 200 by 200 comp, and all of them are filling the full length of the comp. So we actually need to sequence them because the way Particular is going to reference these is by a single moment in time. So we only want to have one piece of confetti during one moment in time so that Particular can separate them and distribute them. So to do that, I've counted we actually have 27 layers. So the way that I do it is just add 27 seconds to the composition, and you can edit your composition settings by using Command K on a Mac, and you can change the duration of the composition here. And then what we want to do is make all of them exactly 1 second long. So I'm going to select all the layers and then press Option End Bracket. And now we have them all 1 second long. So then we just need to sequence them so that they are spread out evenly across the 27-second comp. So select all your layers again, right click, Keyframe Assistant, Sequence Layers. And we do not want to overlap them because we want them to be even cuts. And then click OK. And there you go. Now you have them sequenced over time, and you'll see there's one piece of confetti for every second. And that is what we want. Okay, so now you want to go to a master comp and import your pre-comp confetti, which is what we just made. You want to import this into a new composition. I'm going to go ahead and turn this off and start from scratch. So to use Particular, we need to have a new layer. And I'm just going to name it Particular. And you want to go to Effect, Trapcode Particular. And you're going to see these white dots spreading out. That's the default setting. So first, let's go ahead and replace the particles. So to replace the particles with the confetti we just made, we need to go to particle type, sprite, and then you want to open the textures and choose the layer, pre-comp confetti. And now you'll see it's chosen our confetti, but it's very small, so we'll go ahead and increase the size. And you'll notice that it's only using one piece of confetti, which is not what we want. So to make it random, we need to choose random still frame. And now it will choose a different piece of confetti for every particle at random. And you can also adjust this to try to get a variation to your liking with the random seed. And there you go. So that's the basics. It's looking pretty good. But in this case, we want to make it look like it's falling from above and kind of drifting down like confetti would realistically. So let's twirl up our particle settings and open emitter. And with the position, we can drag the emitter up higher. And we can boost the velocity, which just is the speed at which they are flying from the emitter. And that gives us some nice separation from all the particles there. So it's looking pretty good, but it's not falling like it would being affected by gravity. So let's go ahead and add some gravity, and we do that in the physics tab down here. And you just drag the gravity forward, and that'll make these pieces of confetti look heavier. Let's preview that. Alright, that's pretty cool. They're flying pretty fast. We probably want to turn our velocity down. Or maybe our gravity is a little too high. So unless we control how many are being emitted, it's just going to be a constant stream of confetti being spewed out. So we're going to need to set keyframes so that it's only a few pieces that are coming out. And to do that, we need to animate the particles per second. So let's go towards the beginning of the layer, and we'll check the stopwatch. We'll tap U to bring up the keyframe. And then let's go back in time, and we'll set a keyframe for 0 particles. And then we'll move forward in time a few keyframes and set another keyframe for 0. So now this is going to be very few particles, and we need to boost the middle keyframe so that more pieces of confetti can be generated in this short period of time. You'll see now it creates a nice burst of confetti and then stops. More like a firework, which is cool. I'm going to go ahead and drag the emitter a little higher because as you can see it's happening just below our composition. So let's get that out of sight so it looks more like a burst of confetti. So it's happening in a ball shape, which we don't necessarily want. I want to have it fall across the entire length of the composition so we can actually edit the way it's emitting. Right now it's on a point. But to make it expand farther, we need to change this to a box. And then we can adjust the emitter size horizontally and vertically, which is nice. So I'm going to decrease vertical, increase horizontal there. So now it'll look more like it's being released from the ceiling. Alright, I'm going to turn our velocity down a little bit. I'm going to increase the gravity. Alright, as you can see, they're falling very straight, and there's no rotation happening on these pieces of confetti, which is not realistic at all. So let's work on that. I'm going to twirl up our emitter, and then bring down our particle settings. And we'll twirl down rotation. And here we can start to add some rotation to these pieces of confetti. The rotate Z will give all of them the same kind of rotation, which still isn't going to be very realistic. We want to add some random rotation to all of these elements. So let's increase this a little bit by 2 and see how that does. Oh, you know what? That actually won't do anything until we increase the rotation speed of the Z axis. This is the amount of randomness that it will add to this rotation. So let's try just 0.1 because it's very sensitive. That's not bad. It's a little better. I'm going to go ahead and increase these. Alright, that's pretty good. It's still falling a bit slow for my liking, so let's try increasing the gravity here. Maybe 120. Let's see how that works. It's pretty cool. So if there's still too much confetti falling to your liking, you can obviously control this middle keyframe here to decrease it. And you can also reduce this gap, because the longer that this gap is, the more particles will be generated. It's just going to be fading off in the amount of them. So let's just go ahead and just leave this to three frames. All right, and then just a couple other settings. If you want to adjust the look that you're getting, you can go back into your emitter here, and you can work with these rotation elements to give you some variety with how they're falling or just the angle that you're getting. If you adjust these rotation elements here, it's still going to fall straight down. So you're not changing the camera per se, you're just adjusting the angle of the confetti. Alright guys, I hope you found the tutorial helpful, and we'll see you again next time.